So next up on the agenda is you, Mr. Dan, with your opinions on there possibly being a new crash on the horizon. Not that there was one in the first place. Don't you even start on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is a really interesting topic and one that everyone's been talking about for 6-7 years. I don't think that there's a crash on the horizon, because I don't think there can be a crash, with the internet. But I do think that because of the way that distribution is changing, and because of Valve opening the floodgates, and I say the floodgates, that makes it sound horrible, doesn't it? But there has certainly been a deluge of games since they did that. And obviously places like itch.io and GameJolt and other sites having no kind of gating on what games come through. We now have an excess of games that are launching every week to the general public. I mean, with the amount of games that were launching anyway, just on direct download or on itch or anywhere, were being finished, there were loads. But at least with Steam, it was controlled.
Whoa.
Whereas now...
Controlled, really?
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It was more controlled. Even
Yeah.
when they were running Greenlight, you didn't have what Steam now has on it. An old member of the site was playing a game recently, and I noticed that they'd earned 1,000 achievements from it. So I clicked on the game, and it took me to a Steam page, and the game itself was on sale for like 50p. Or you could buy a bundle of 25 of these achievement games for about £7. And literally these games exist, so you turn them on, go out, make a cup of soup or whatever, come back, you've earned 1,000 achievements, and that's what they exist for, and so that kind of stuff now is on the Steam store, is in that Steam system, and curation is not properly in place on itch.io, on Steam, on any of these marketplaces.
Well, I mean, things like itch.io, there's nothing at all, is there? You pretty much can upload a game and it goes live within minutes.
Yeah, but there's no kind of like, or they do have their front page which says we recommend this, we recommend this, we recommend this, and Steam very much has that as well. And Steam is trying to recommend you games based on what you've played. But if a new game comes out from a new developer, it could be absolutely mind-blowing. But if they have no idea about how to do marketing, then that will just completely sell nothing, and you'll get 2 or 3 people possibly buy it and go, this is amazing, and they'll tell their mates, and it will sell on word of mouth. And all of a sudden, we're back to the early DOS days, where people are going to have to start doing stuff like shareware, but I don't know, still have to do some sort of marketing in order to get stuff out there. The market has so rapidly changed because that distribution moved forwards that we've definitely not got a crash coming. But we have got a point where, if we're not careful, the medium-sized developer will disappear again because of the issues of marketing, or the lack of marketing and PR that will be made by a big flood of games. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, I can. Yeah, it does make sense. I mean, I can see there will be a crash, but it won't be a general game crash. There will be a retail crash.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a demand for games. That's ever since video games were born, people have been clamoring for it. The next big thing, the newest things. I don't really understand what you mean by crash, other than a bunch of companies possibly going bankrupt.
What I mean, the crash is a term normally used to refer to something that happened in America, wherein Atari and a couple of other companies basically just, very much disappeared because of oversaturation. We didn't really have it over here, to be honest with you. But
I don't think that's possible these days because of the internet. I don't think that could happen anymore.
But then what I'm talking about is the new crash, what may be known as a crash in 10 years' time, may in fact be that medium-sized developer teams start disappearing because when they hit these storefronts, they can't get enough impact. They don't have the marketing, or they don't have the PR, and they don't appear on these curated lists, and they don't appear to the right people, and so they sell so few copies they can't support themselves. Well, and so the almost a new wave of indie, wherein all of these mid-tier developers have to fragment again.
But I mean, if we're looking at that, then we could kind of say that we're already in the middle of that crash, because that is the situation. Developers who, you can make the greatest game in the world, but if you don't know how to market, you're screwed. That's right now. That's happening today. How many games come out on Steam every month? It's like 1,000 now. It's ridiculous how many games come out. I think that's the current situation right now, and it's really unfortunate. But yeah, I think it's a reality of, you need to not only make a great game anymore. That's only 30% of it, but you need to market it now. You need to do the social media. It's no longer, sadly, that you can have success based off the merits of what you made anymore. Now it's who you know, how did you get it out there, who did you tell?
So you're saying it's like art then?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, yeah.
Art and books and film very much. You can write an amazing book, but if you don't get picked up or found,
exactly. And I think, I honestly think that's a lot of, it has to do with Valve's fault. That has to do with, well, not necessarily probably Valve's fault, but I do think there's a lot of people who've gotten access to making games now. There's a lot of, which is great. There's a lot of tools out there for people to pick up and use, and they can make their own games and they have their own dreams. But the problem is now that it's so widespread that everybody's making a game now, which I know is a weird issue, but I think it's a combination of things. I think it has something to do with the publishers, the distributors, and the fact that just everybody now has access to these tools.
Yeah, definitely.
But as far as a crash goes, it'll be interesting to see what happens, because I do agree with you, Dan, that something does need to happen. Or something is going to happen, I should say. I don't know what. And it's either going to be terrible. It's probably going to be terrible. Whatever it's going to be, it's going to be awful.
I mean, that's really it. I mean, it's becoming oversaturated. I just hate missing a good game. I know that's quite selfish, but I think it sucks if people are pouring time in and making a game that appeals to me, a game that would be perfect for me, that I'd love, and then that I miss it. That I find this game in 5 or 6 years' time when it's on some list of top 10 games that are like this that I accidentally clicked on while I was trying to wave off an advert, and I miss it,
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I can completely relate to that. But that's why we have such amazing websites like Big Boss Battle that finds those games and hopefully gets them a little bit more exposure, huh?
Promote that man.